Hello and welcome to BD TV. This is episode 2. 250 BD leaders from across the world have registered to join us today. And once again, to hear from one of their peers, a senior person in business development at a professional firm, about what they're doing to navigate COVID. My name is Peter Kane and I run the BD consultancy. We help professional firms grow around the world. I'm going to introduce this week's presenter in a moment, but just to give you a bit of clarity on how this will run, there's a Q&A at the bottom of the screen, and if you want to pose a question at any stage to the presenter, please do. Some of you have kindly submitted questions in advance, and we'll be answering some of those. And we'll also be running a poll throughout the presentation, and I'll be asking, do you think most professional firms have struck the right tone between compassion, empathy, and commercial opportunity as we go through COVID? Our speaker will be speaking for approximately 10 minutes, and then we're going to have a Q&A when we reflect on some of those questions you posed and look at the results of the poll. This is live, so anything could happen. We could be joined by animals, children, or like last week, one of us may experience their first power cut in the last 3 years. And it's all been recorded. It will be available on YouTube afterwards, and will be wrapped up in approximately 20 minutes. So thanks very much for joining. We're delighted this week that Marianne Russell from AlixPartners is going to lead the session. Marianne is Director of Marketing and BD at AlixPartners. It's a global consultancy firm with offices across the Americas, EMEA, and Asia. Her focus is on setting the strategic agenda for the brand and for client development, and also, quite simply, getting more sales into the funnel from both current clients and from new ones. I've known Marianne for 15 years, and her commercial nous and her huge positive energy has seen her rise through the ranks from Deloitte through law firms including Freshfields and Slaughter and May to where she is now with AlixPartners. Marianne, welcome. I know you'll tell it as it is. What's happening at AlixPartners and how are you adapting?
Hi, Peter. Thanks very much for having me on today. And thanks to Caitlin also for helping us set up. You know, when we started having this conversation about 4 weeks ago, life was so very different. We'd all downloaded House Party. We were starting our sourdough starters and thinking of rewatching Spooks. And sort of 4 weeks on, you know, we're now using this multiverse of platforms, and we've all become geography teachers, and we've realized that Tiger King is not all that, and Spooks is very much the sort of watching du jour. So a lot has changed.
Yeah, it has, and that's one thing we're seeing, and one reason I'm really glad to have you on here talking live, because one of the things we hear about is speed, and how something that's relevant 1 week ago isn't relevant this week. What I'd love to know, and what I've seen, and I'm sure people watching this have seen over the last 2 weeks, is all kinds of things about pay freezes and furloughing and tightening of belts in professional firms. What is happening at AlixPartners?
It's a good question, Peter, and it's something I'm sure that's on a lot of people's minds. So the good thing about AlixPartners is we've got 3 parts to our business. So we've got our restructuring part, we've got our enterprise improvement, which is our pure consulting, and then we've got our investigations and disputes. And then depending on what happens in the economy depends on how we can deploy people and sort of move people a little bit around the business. And our business is really agile, so we're able to do that. The second thing is we're global. And I mean, everyone says we're truly global, but what we've been able to do with the crisis is, you know, this was flagged to us by our colleagues in Asia. And we leaned in really hard to actively listen to them and our clients and judge how we were able to help our clients. And most importantly, I think sort of accurate timing as to how to land messages, like, for example, you know, when to start talking about the restart, because we could map it from when it came over from Asia all the way across the continent. And I think the third thing that's happening at AlixPartners is AlixPartners recruits a really action-orientated type of person. So we were incredibly nimble to move to teams, and all our working was, you know, done in teams within 2 days. And the consultants were very, very quick and action-orientated to carry on conversations with clients. So yes, it's been a very busy time, as it is with everyone, but I think we're weathering the storm pretty well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I'm not surprised to hear that. I've seen firsthand how quickly you move at AlixPartners, and I'm not surprised you are navigating this at speed. At speed. What people on here would love to know, and though is practically, if we may dip into the weeds a little bit in terms of relationships, what are people doing practically around relationships during this?
So another good question. You know, first and foremost, Peter, this is AlixPartners, we keep saying, you know, this is a humanitarian crisis first, and I think that's pretty important. We've got to keep mindful of, and for as marketeers, that means we need to put our values before value, which means that every single touch point we have with clients needs to be done with a really human backdrop. So tone of voice comes into everything more than it ever really has, in my views. And there's sort of winners and losers in this game. We don't have to go into who are the losers, because there's been lots of social media noise about, you know, who's not doing that stuff well. But I think the sort of the winners, to me, if anyone has time, you know, Facebook have done a fantastic, like it or loathe the platform. Facebook have done a fantastic collaboration with Kate Tempest, the poet, which is a multimedia campaign with beautiful cinematic photographs of NHS workers and voiceovers, all about solidarity and resilience of people. And it's a real nod to the fact that, you know, people are the real economy, and it's beautifully executed. So I challenge everyone to watch that and not be able to wipe a tear from your eye. The other thing is, so the Edelman research, what people may have looked at is, you know, people are looking to business, not government as much, for information and reassurance. So that's something we as marketeers and BD people have got to take that responsibility. You can't take that lightly. So what we did on the ground, as the crisis started sort of coming closer to home, is tactically we got an engine room together and a project plan together. So we brought together different people from all the marketing and BD disciplines, and we went through each one of our marketing and BD campaigns and said, what can we do here? We've got to start some stuff, we've got to stop some stuff, we've got to continue some stuff. And the stuff that we started was, you know, for example, surveys that we'd done, that we were going to put out and, you know, get social media noise about. We had just weren't fit for purpose because all the research was done pre-COVID. The stuff that we then had to start was, you know, we had to take a long, hard look at the issues our clients are facing, where we could help. And to the Edelman research, you know, we've been able to create some content and take BD content out to clients, which has been practical advice just to get through these really challenging times. Also internally, our sort of internal clients, the consultants are now in this new lockdown world, and we had to work with them on guidance on virtual pitching, on, you know, hosting client hospitality and sort of wine tastings online and all kinds of things like that. And the things that we've been able to continue is some of the content that we're doing and some of the BD campaigns we've had to repurpose. So an example of that is we've done some big videos with our leadership that, although we would never have known would have stuck so well, we've been able to repurpose some of that messaging and sort of plug it into our COVID-related business development and marketing. So it's been a really exciting time for the BD and marketing teams. We're running, you know, I'm a good South African, I've got to use a Springbok analogy. So running alongside the consultants and like it's sort of forwards in rugby, passing the ball from one team to the next and keeping nimble and agile.
I didn't think you'd be able to do 20 minutes without the Springboks. So we'll allow one.
I get the internet high five for that one.
Okay. Okay. That actually, you know, what you're saying about Marcoms and about that thought leadership and that virtual engagement, I absolutely get. But just before we launch into the Q&A proper, the thing, and this is a bit cheeky, but I'll ask it anyway, that you're in a world of finance, of private equity, of banks, where a lot of relationships are built over coffee, over lunch. There's smoking cigars and sipping whiskey. Can you really truly get that kind of intimacy and rapport when we're in this no contact time?
Yeah, this is one that I think we're all grappling with, and you know, it's just difficult. It's difficult, especially I think in newer and more greenfield relationships. That's really difficult. And the one thing that we were finding really difficult is with pitching, we generally get about, sort of 2 weeks to 10 days to get pitches in their land and get them going to a presentation. And that is, I'd say, halved over the COVID period. So being able to sort of do all the stakeholder management and, influence all the relationships and speak to people to gather all the information, that stuff is generally done face to face. We're just not able to do that. So the only thing we can do at this moment is lean hard on, where we do have the relationships and where people can refer us in. But also, and if any of my team are listening, they'll probably smile when I say this, where we are doing, because it feels like the world has gone into webinar mania, where we are doing webinars, the most important part of the webinar is the data analytics at the back. So that you know exactly who's been on there, what they asked, who they were interacting with, at what stage did they drop on, drop off, so that you can do that very critical BD follow-up with a bit of information behind that.
Yeah, understood. Thanks very much. I think, and I'm talking to different firms across the community. I've heard this flurry of activity around webinars. Peter Skinner mentioned it last week, and there's a little bit of fatigue out there if it doesn't absolutely hit the spot, and if people don't follow up on it properly. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to now go into the Q&A, if I may, Marianne. And the first question, and this came from, it was a question from, I suppose, what would be one of your competitors at one of the other large accountancy firms, one of the big four. So was asking, how do we ensure we get the tone just right at the moment when we're dealing with a number of people who are it's a humanitarian crisis and they're in personal distress, and a number of companies are going through incredibly tough times. So we asked in the poll, and I'm going to ask you to reflect on this in a moment. We asked in the poll how well firms were doing from what you're seeing across professional firms, are most using the correct tone of voice during COVID-19, and it was a range from far too passive to actually much more, they're tone deaf and overly opportunistic. Are you able to see the results in front of you now, Marianne? Can you?
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Are you surprised by that, or is that what you're seeing yourself?
No, I think that's about right, and I think that I would apportion it to probably the fact that, we are all part of this. It's not like this is something, it's not happening to a group of people who aren't us. It's happening to our, mothers, fathers, friends. So we are all feeling this. And you would hope then, as a professional services firm, that would then translate into not only your sort of big comms and the big BD stuff, but the sort of the one-to-one interactions. Yes. So that sounds about right to me.
Okay, good. And it's reassuring operating in the community to know that other people are feeling that too. But certainly in dealing with clients and thinking what clients have got on the what they're dealing with now, what they've got on the horizon. Internally, I know you've got a very distinct culture and a very distinct way of working. How do you maintain that kind of culture when there's no chatting in the lift and there's no water cooler moments? What is there anything can be done?
I think a lot of this goes back to leaning on your values as a firm, and the sort of the work that we've done pre-COVID to embed those values in all of our internal comms, the way we speak to our clients, the way we get appraised, the whole way through the sort of employee value chain. This is where it will come to bear, because we just can't govern every single interaction with clients, but the ones that we can have got to be razor sharp, and then the rest you leave with a bit of trust to the consultants and MDs that do the stuff all the time.
Thank you. One question that's just come in on the poll as well is someone is asking, would you please confirm the name of the research you mentioned earlier in the call? I think was it Edelman? Was that correct? Edelman, yes, yeah. Edelman. That's there you go, Rhonda. And another one, and I don't know if you can chance to think about this on the hoof, but a question from one of the leading law firms: is there anything can be done at the minute to help clients as they start to look forward from this rather than just reacting to the current situation? Is there anything at your disposal within Alix that you're applying?
Yeah, absolutely. So it would be remiss of me not to plug some of our AlixPartners content, and we've actually just launched a sort of a marketing campaign along with the BD campaign all around business restart, and all the content around the business restart is available on our website, and it basically looks at 3 pillars, and there's great checklists and all kinds of things that are enabling us to have some pretty sensible tactical conversations with our clients, because they just want advice. And it goes into operational, what do you need to do to make sure it's safe operations starting again if you've mothballed it or if you haven't. And then it also goes into sort of financial health, and then it goes into what you should be doing about claims and making sure that you're beefing up what could potentially be a financial claim. But that's on our website, and we've got a 6-week campaign on content around that.
Okay, well done. You
Coming
squeezed
to LinkedIn right near you.
You squeezed that in.
That wasn't a plan, Peter.
Okay. Well, we've promised not to have too much pro adverts here. So we'll just bringing it right back and conscious of time. What for you personally? What is it you're really missing at the minute? What do you want to do when we finally get out of this?
Well, how long have we still got? I think my answer has to be not what I said, but what my 11-year-old stepson told me last weekend. He's really struggling not going to school, which is just quite bananas. But I said to him, so well, what are you really missing besides school? Well, let's talk about the good stuff that we can do. And he went, MA, because he calls me MA. I really just want to go to the pub garden and have a drink with my pals. You might have heard that somewhere.
Yes. They tend to mirror what they hear at home, I think. And actually, if I hear some rumors today that he might be able to do that next week.
Well, we can't wait.
Yes. Well, hoping so. Marianne, thank you. I knew you would shoot from the hip. I knew you'd tell it as it is. Thanks very much for giving us a little insight into what's happening at AlixPartners and how you're responding. For everyone who's watching, please come back, same time next week when we'll be hearing from another leader in business development in professional services. Thanks very much for joining us. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you for having me, Peter.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.